and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family. Their house is a museum when people come to see them. They really are a scream, the Addams Family.
Neat. Sweet. Petite.
So get a witch's shawl on, a broomstick you can crawl on. We're gonna pay a call on the Addams Family.
Good evening, boils and ghouls, and welcome to our 10-hour monster movie horror-thon, presented by BCTV on the Bethany Broadcasting Network, where our intrepid band of ghost hunters will attempt to prove at long last if Old Main on the campus of Bethany College is indeed haunted. And now, here are your hosts, Jocelyn Nelson and Carlo Guadagnino.
Brought to you by Domino's, located in West Liberty and West Virginia. So, as you guys know, we're continuing to think about how we're going to be going up into the bell tower here around midnight. You pretty excited to see what's up there?
I'm not going up in the bell tower, so I'm not really that worried about it.
Well, Taylor's already in it, but around midnight she should be hitting the rooftop so we can actually look out over campus a little bit.
Yeah, I don't do heights and or ghosts.
And apparently that's where people have jumped off of, so there's going to be plenty up there.
I don't know why we keep egging these ghosts on about, what they did to die. That's probably not a way to get them to be friends with us.
All right.
People are crazy. You're trying to egg ghosts on, expecting them to be friendly with you. No, that's when things go wrong.
All right.
Am I the only normal one on the set right now? What is this?
He's been freaking out all night, folks. Okay, well, why don't you calm yourself down with a little bit of trivia?
I guess. Carrie Elwes, because I definitely forgot how to pronounce her name. Can we, hold on. How do we pronounce this name? Oh, no, ooh. One of the stars of the horror classic Saw also starred in 2 classic fantasy films, one directed by Mel Brooks, also director of Spaceballs and Blazing Saddles, and History of the World Part 1 and 2. And Rob Reiner, which I don't have a movie for Rob Reiner because I'm not as big of a fan. But what are they? Again, that question is, Carrie Elwes, once one of the stars of the horror classic Saw, also starred in 2 classic fantasy films, one directed by Mel Brooks and the other directed by Rob Reiner. What are they?
And if you have the right answer to that, we want you to shoot us an email at bctvhorror-a-thon@yahoo.com. Horror-a-thon@yahoo.com. And if you are the 13th email with the correct answer, you will win a prize. And that prize is When a Stranger Calls and Jennifer Love Hewitt at her busty best.
Oh, I love Jennifer Love Hewitt and her bustiness. Isn't she in a towel in this movie? Is this the...
I couldn't
She's in a towel. I swear to God she's in a towel. Somebody tell me that she's in a towel. I'll buy the movie right now.
Anyway, when
she's in a towel, we got confirmation. Word, I will be seeing her busty self.
When she is in the movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Apparently it was busty.
So if you want to see Jennifer Love Hewitt at her busty best and the slasher classic When a Stranger Calls, you need to be the 13th correct email to bctvhorror-a-thon@yahoo.com.
And don't forget, folks, we got a timestamp. So if the movie ends and you get your email in after that, it doesn't count.
So you got to get it over before this next movie is done. And that next movie would be
Night of the Living Dead.
We're going to have him Vanaway that poster a little bit. And for a little more information on Night of the Living Dead, because it has a lot of history to it, we're going to send it over to Kyle Wales. Kyle, what do you got to tell us about Night of the Living Dead?
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Well, first off, Jennifer Love Hewitt at her busty best, I'll say this right now. She actually worked out with Lou Ferrigno for that flick, and I think she should have got an Emmy. Yeah. Night of the Living Dead, the first feature-length film directed by George Romero, essentially launched his career as a horror director. It was almost entirely shot in the Pittsburgh area and is known as the grandfather of all zombie films. Simply put, there were none before it. None. The 1968 premiere had a budget of $114,000. It was also one of the last films in the business to use landscape posters and lobby cards to advertise rather than making the switch to portrait. Upon re-release, the film eventually switched over to more common form. Variety Mag called it, "The movie was atrocious and appalling, making it a controversial success." But others saluted its originality. It spawned 2 sequels, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, through the 1970s. It also went on to spawn several other movies in Romero's payload, including colorized version, a 3D version, and several remakes. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. Even the spoof classic Shaun of the Dead, one of my personal favorites, wouldn't have been around today without Romero. And for that matter, neither would the highly successful series The Walking Dead on AMC. I know everyone loves that. Or Nazi Zombies, Call of Duty. I know a couple winners here in Bethany. I think everyone can agree that Call of Duty, that's where it's at. Eventually, in the spring of 1990, 27 years after the original, it was remade by Romero, and it reigniting the genre all over again by recreating Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. But Romero took it one step further by creating an all-new masterpiece, including Survival of the Dead, Land of the Dead, and the highly rated Diary of the Dead, which received 4 stars for its suspense-fueled zombie fun. And tonight, I can announce for one of the first times anywhere that a film company called Shattered Images has once again remade the original film with a twist. And after the initial screening a week ago on October 24th, it is premiering once again tonight to a limited release and soon-to-be national release. The irony in the film was made so cheaply that the members of the crew were only paid with the satisfaction of being in a movie, a t-shirt that said, "I was in the Night of the Living Dead," and $1, all because the Pittsburgh film offices at the time required that all movie crews had to be paid something. Now I'm going to send it back to Carlo and Jocelyn with an interview on the medium. We're going to get some more on that ghost. Back to you guys.
I have gotten paid in this lovely poster that I'm holding, my lovely sweater that I have on, and the $1 that Eric Sprouse gave me to get a beverage earlier today.
Well, thank you, Carlo, to Kyle. Sorry, you both begin with a cuss sound. But thank you to Kyle for ensuring us that we're not the only ones that get a low budget, especially for a good production.
All right, now I want to point out, now that our medium is back, she just told me while Kyle was lovely over there talking, the jack-o'-lantern behind her. Here, let everybody see this. See that jack-o'-lantern right there? This jack-o'-lantern? It bit her. So everybody that thought I was joking when I said the jack-o'-lantern was possessed, forget you. I'm not playing. This stuff is creepy.
Okay, well, speaking about actual experiences and not Carlos' hallucinations, what did you feel? I know you went out on the balcony recently. Our medium went out on the balcony recently. We're going to have her talk a little bit about what she felt.
Okay, well, basically, I went out onto the balcony, and the minute I stepped out onto the balcony, I had that flashback of just falling down and hitting the ground. That was a constant feeling the entire time I was out there. It freaks me out so much that I can't stand on the balcony at all anymore.
Yeah, that would freak me out too. I know you have those dreams where you're kind of falling, but it's interesting that you actually had that flashback of someone who may or may not have fallen off of that balcony or from the roof in Old Main.
We actually have confirmation that a construction worker, while he was building, fell into Commencement Hall and died.
And you got that information after you experienced the balcony, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right, well, that is very interesting. And as long as we're a little freaked out by the supernatural, we're going to send you into the start of Night of the Living Dead, which actually started off all of the zombie films. So it's kind of appropriate. Let's give it a shot.
They ought to make the day the time changes, the first day of summer.
What?
Well, it's 8 o'clock and it's still light.
A lot of good the extra daylight does us. Now, we've still got a 3-hour drive back. We're not going to be home until after midnight.
Well, if it really bugged you, Johnny, you wouldn't do it.
You think I want to blow Sunday on a scene like this? You know, I figure we're either going to have to move Mother out here or move the grave into Pittsburgh.
She can't make a trip like this.
Oh, you know that she can. Is there any of that candy left?
No.
Look at this thing. We still remember. I don't. You know, I don't even remember what the man looks like.
Johnny, it takes you 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes to put the wreath on the grave and 6 hours to drive back and forth. Mother wants to remember, so we trot 200 miles into the country and she stays at home.
Well, we're here, John, all right?
Back on? Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming back on the air after an interruption due to technical problems.
There's nothing wrong with the radio. Must have been the station.
Which row is it in?
Well, there's no one around.
Well, it's late. You'd gotten up earlier.
Oh, look, I already lost an hour's sleep when the time changed.
I think you complain just to hear yourself talk. There it is.
I wonder what happened to the one from last year. Each year we spend good money on these things. We come out here and the one from last year's gone.
Well, the flowers die, and the caretaker or somebody takes them away.
Yeah, a little spit and polish. You can clean this up. Sell it next year. Wonder how many times we bought the same one. Hey, come on, Barb. Church was this morning, huh? Hey, I mean, praying's for church, huh? Come on.
I haven't seen you in church lately.
Well, there's not much sense in my going to church. Do you remember one time when we were small, we were out here? It was from right over there. I jumped out at you from behind the tree, and Grandpa got all excited, and he shook his fist at me, and he said, "Boys, you'll be damned to hell." Remember that? Right over there. Well, you used to really be scared here.
Johnny.
You're still afraid.
Stop it now. I mean it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny.
Don't worry about him. I can handle him. Probably be a lot more of them as soon as they find out about us. The truck is out of gas. This pump out here is locked. Is there a key? We can try to get out of here if we can get some gas. Is there a key? I suppose you've tried this. Do you live here? Jesus. We've got to get out of here. We have to get to where there's some other people. Maybe we better take some food. I'll see if I can find some food.
What's happening?
Oh, you think it's happening?
What's happening?
Two of them. There are two of them out there. Have you seen any more around here? I can take care of those two.
I don't
I know you're afraid, but we have
I don't know! I don't know! What's happening?
Don't look at it. Get some more lights on in this house. Why don't you see if you can find some wood, some boards, something there by the fireplace, something we can nail this place up. Oh, God damn. Look, I know you're afraid. I'm afraid too. But we have to try to board the house up together. Now, I'm going to board up the windows and the doors. Do you understand? We'll be all right here. We'll be all right here until someone comes to rescue us. But we'll have to work together. You'll have to help me. Now, I want you to go in and get some wood so I can board the place up. Do you understand? Okay? Okay? Pick out the biggest ones you can find. There, this room looks pretty secure. If we have to, we can run in here and board up the doors. Won't be long before those things will be back pounding their way in here. They're afraid now. They're afraid of fire. I found that out. You know a place back down the road called Beekman's Diner? Anyhow, that's where I found that truck I have out there. There's a radio in the truck. I jumped in to listen to it when a big gasoline truck came screaming right across the road. But there must have been 10, 15 of those things chasing after it, grabbing and holding on. Now, I didn't see them at first. I could just see that the truck was moving in a funny way. And those things were catching up to it. The truck went right across the road. Slammed on my brakes to keep from hitting it myself. It went right through the guardrail. I guess the driver must have cut off the road into that gas station by Beekman's Diner. It went right through the billboard, ripped over a gas pump, and never stopped moving. By now, it was like a moving bonfire. Didn't know if the truck was going to explode or what. Still hear the man screaming. This thing is just backing away from it. I looked back at the diner to see if there was anyone there who could help me. That was when I noticed that the entire place had been encircled. There wasn't a sign of life left except by now there were no more screams. I realized that I was alone with 50 or 60 of those things, just standing there, staring at me. I started to drive. I just plowed right through them. They didn't move. They didn't run or just stood there, staring at me. Just wanted to crush them. They scattered through the air like bugs.
We were riding in the cemetery, Johnny and me. Johnny. We came to put a wreath on my father's grave. Johnny, and he said, "Can I have some candy, Barbara?" And we didn't have any. And oh, it's hot in here. Hot. And he said, "Oh, it's late. Why did we start so late?" And I said, "Johnny, if you'd gotten up earlier, we wouldn't be late." Johnny asked me if I were afraid. And I said, "I'm not afraid, Johnny." And then this man started walking up the road. He came slowly, and Johnny kept teasing me and saying, He's coming to get you, Barbara. And I laughed at him and said, Johnny, stop it. And then Johnny ran away. And I went up to this man, and I was going to apologize.
Why don't you just keep calm?
And I looked up, and I said, Goody. And he grabbed me. He grabbed me, and he ripped at me. He held me, and he ripped at my clothes.
I think you should just calm down.
Oh, I screamed, Johnny! Johnny, help me! Oh, help me! And he wouldn't let me go. He ripped. And then Johnny came and he ran and he fought this man. And I got so afraid. I ran. And Johnny didn't come. We have to wait for Johnny. Maybe we better go out and get him. We have to go out and get Johnny. He's out there. Please, don't you hear me? We've got to go out and get him. Please! We have got to go get Johnny! Please help me! Please!
Don't you know what's going on out there? This is no Sunday school picnic.
Don't you understand? My brother is alone!
Your brother is dead.
No! My brother is not dead! Oh.
Welcome back, boils and ghouls. I see you're still with us. Our monster movie HORROR-THON continues on BCTV if you dare to watch. And now, here are your hosts once again, Jocelyn Nelson and Carlo Guadagnino.
Thank you very much for continuing to watch the monster movie HORROR-THON, brought to you here at Bethany College in West Virginia from Old Main. You are watching Night of the Living Dead right now. And this particular segment is brought to you by one of our sponsors. And this sponsor is Shop and Save, located on Jefferson Avenue in Washington, PA. Have you ever been to the Shop and Save in Washington, PA, Carlo?
I don't really travel to Washington. That's not my part of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I passed through it on the way home, and that Shop and Save was pretty hopping.
I don't understand how a Shop and Save could be hopping. What is are the grannies out getting they're using their coupons and whatnot?
Yeah, checking
You're
out the
probably
grandads,
an
all
extreme
9 yards.
couponer, aren't you? You're one of those people that, like, Sundays they get the newspaper, they take all the coupons and they put them in a nice little binder.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
I think differently of you now, just know.
Alrighty, well, we are gearing up towards our midnight tower trip, where we're actually going to see Taylor Furco reach the very top of the tower. But
That's
before
at midnight,
we get
right?
to that...
At midnight or around midnight? Somewhere
Around
there?
midnight, whenever she manages to hike up all of those stairs.
I would imagine she's going to find a bell and a clock.
Hey, we're going all the way to the top, but before we do that, we're going to pitch some of our student stories.
And these stories will be from Kyle with tales from around Bethany.
Coming back from town to Bethany, and once you get to the sharp turn involving the 2 large rocks, the tale is, if it's past midnight, you look in a rearview mirror, and apparently a young girl was sitting in your back seat. Apparently about a decade ago, there was a car accident, and that's where it had happened, and that's one of the tales. Another tale, personal experience of mine. It was right before winter break let out, and I was packing my clothes, and it was me and someone else helped me move my stuff back into my car, and I was coming back in to grab my TV, and my closet door decided to slide from one side to the other. It was on tracks, and it's like someone yanked it, and once it yanked to the other side, it clearly stopped. Like, it barely swung side to side because, like, you know, it sits on the top railing, but Yeah, that was my 2 experiences. I've never been more scared in my entire life right there because I witnessed it move, and it was far out. That was in Campbell Village, CV 140, I think it was 123 or something like that, 2nd floor. Yeah, room B. A lot of stuff going on there. Oh, she was just as freaked out as I was. She's like, well, luckily we're almost done unpacking. Or luckily we're almost done packing up, and yeah, we just grabbed a couple more things and we got out of there. Honestly, I haven't been in that room since, because after that I moved down to the Beta House. So, yeah, I really don't know who lived in there after me, but I don't know, I'd like to see if they witnessed anything. Sophomore year, a friend of mine and I are joining Beta Theta Pi fraternity, and we get back from baseball practice, we get cleaned up, we got our suits on like this because it was formal chapter, and as we leave, we lock both of our room doors. This is Campbell Village CV1 141. A lot of action happened in there sophomore year, which was crazy. But well, we lock everything, everything's turned off, and we take 2 steps out of our main room, and my friend's like, oh crap, I forgot my phone. I was like, okay. We walk back in, and everything in his room is on. TV, lights, but nothing really on the TV. It's not like someone was watching anything. It was just a blank screen. But my friend has a smart TV, and he was watching Netflix, but it was just a plain black screen.
Last year, I was coming from a function at lower level of Phillips. It's one of those dance things hosted by Black Alliance. And I was there, enjoying the night, having fun dancing, doing my Dougie. And when it kind of ended, everyone goes their separate ways. But I went with a few friends upstairs to grab something before we went back to CV. And I went on my own. I was like, I'll meet him up there. And I went up the stairs through like the side view, kind of like by where the dumpster is. And I thought I saw one of my friends. Like, I saw something. So like, I'm like calling her name. And like, I started going faster. They started going faster. And it's only, you know what I'm saying, you only go up so far, and when you get to the top, the door opens. I got up there, I'm fast, I run track, so like, I kind of ran up the stairs. And when I got to the top, nobody was there. So I thought it was a girl. But I really couldn't tell. I just saw I kind of saw like a figure. Like, when you're walking upstairs, you see like pants or a shirt. It wasn't a dress or nothing, just like jeans. And I was trying to catch up to it, and it was gone. But like, I clearly saw something. So Phillips to me is haunted.
All right, thank you very much to Kyle and Sean both for those interesting stories. That was pretty cool stuff they had going on.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't believe a word that comes out of Kyle Wells' mouth. He fibs. Hey. He's a fibber, guys. I'm telling you right now.
That may be the first. That may be the first ghost in CV.
Don't listen to Kyle Wells. Don't listen to him.
Hey, I still believe that he might be right. If that's the first ghost we've seen in CV, that's going to be interesting to spread our ghostliness over
that campus.
That
means that ghost has to be like 6 years old. Because CVs are like, they're not even in their adolescence yet.
Well, as long as we're thinking about ghosts, let's see if Taylor's found any in the tower yet.
All right, thanks guys. We're back and we're gonna go to the next level now, and it's gonna get a little darker and a little creepier, so it looks like the night vision is gonna have to come on for this part. All right, so if we're set to go, let's get this thing started again. Watch my step here. All right, so it's getting a little narrower as I'm going up these steps. Probably wasn't the best that they sent a klutz doing this job. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's more windows. It's definitely getting more narrow. More cobwebs, fantastic. There's a spider eating something. Woo! All right, we're getting there. Okay, so it's gonna be this hallway right in here that's very dark and scary. Woo! Alright, so looks like we're here. Oh my gosh, this is scarier than the last one. Woo! There's this ladder over here. Let's see what's gonna happen. Wow, as you can see, there's dirt and dust and hay everywhere. But I wonder what's up here. Let's try to figure this one out. Woo! This ladder is not attached to anything. Well, we got a bell up here. A really old bell. Woo! I'm not sure if this is safe or not, but we're just gonna see. Alright, we're up top, and there's a really big bell and lots of creepy things. That could have been a ghost or my klutziness. I'm not sure which one, but that was really creepy. Okay. Alright, so the bell is right over here. I'm not sure if it rings or not. Oh, it moves. Okay, it moves. This could be used for many dangerous things right here. Whew. There's dust all over everything. People must not have touched this in ages. They probably don't want to from the looks of this place either. Doesn't seem like this thing holds a lot of weight, so maybe I should try to get down from here. There's dust just floating through the air.
I got the mic, y'all.
All right, well, now that I'm covered in dust and completely scared to death, I think that's... Wow. Oh, look up here. It's insane. Look at all this. Oh, I think I messed with some spiders, but that's okay. They'll get over it. Look at all this. If you look up, you just see how empty and abandoned and creepy this place is. Well, I think I've been creeped out enough for this level, so I'm sending it back to you guys.
Thank you very much to Taylor. That was some really cool stuff up there. And what do you think about all that hay being on the floor?
I don't know. I heard something about this cow, and they a senior prank. They took the cow to the top of the clock tower there.
Yeah, it's oddly consistent that may or may not have been where the cow stayed for a little while they pulled that off.
I heard there was a rumor that cows cannot walk downstairs, so...
I mean, I've worked on a farm, but I've never tried to walk a cow downstairs before, so I can't testify either way.
So you don't have personal experience?
Not with cows going up and downstairs.
Well, you know what we do have, and we saw a little bit in that segment there. We have some of these security cameras around campus, or around Old Main, actually.
And they're in infrared as well.
And they are in infrared, and maybe we could get a few of them up. There we go. There's one there. What is that?
I believe that's within the academic parlor, a branch of it, and has a lot of the old portraits around it. Academic parlor has a lot of portraits of kind of creepy-looking old folk going around there.
Well, I mean, it is bad that go to this place.
I'm just saying, in the portraits, it almost feels like the eyes follow you a little bit. It's kind of weird. It's like Harry Potter-esque.
I said earlier, I spoke to Alexander Campbell last night, and it wasn't nice. He's kind of a weird guy. He talks about a lot of weird things.
I'm sure. And he was just thinking about creeping you out as he built these hallways.
Well,
That's a beautiful shot from outside. Maybe we'll see something falling off that bell tower. Yeah, but there are a lot of bats here. We've seen a few tonight.
Yeah, I hope they ain't vamp.
All right, well, I think...
But I'm Italian, so I got the garlic in me. I ain't gotta worry.
All righty, well, I think we're gearing up to send it back in a little bit here. We've been watching Night of the Living Dead, And things are getting kind of interesting on there. We're seeing how those old zombies, the original zombies on TV, really got started, and how those actors had to have so much fun just playing these creepy people.
I'm gonna be real, zombies, they don't make sense to me. If you're a dead person, why do you want to eat brains?
Well, maybe that will be answered within the rest of Night of the Living Dead.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments. At this hour, we repeat, these are the facts as we know them. There is an epidemic of mass murder being committed by a virtual army of unidentified assassins. The murders are taking place in villages, cities, rural homes, and suburbs with no apparent pattern or reason for the slayings. It seems to be a sudden, general explosion of mass homicide. We have some descriptions of the assassins. Eyewitnesses say they are ordinary-looking people. Some say they appear to be in a kind of trance. Others describe them as being So, at this point, there is no really authentic way for us to say who or what to look for and guard yourself against. Misshapen monsters. Reaction of law enforcement officials is one of complete bewilderment at this hour. So far, we have been unable to determine that any kind of organized investigation is yet underway. Police, sheriff's deputies, and emergency ambulances are literally deluged with calls for help. The scene can best be described as mayhem. Mayors of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Miami, along with the governors of several eastern and midwestern states, have indicated the National Guard may be mobilized at any moment, but that has not happened as yet. The only advice our reporters have been able to get from official sources is for private citizens to stay in their homes behind locked doors. Do not venture outside for any reason until the nature of this crisis has been determined and until we can advise what course of action to take. Keep listening to radio and TV for any special instructions as this crisis develops further. Thousands of office and factory workers are being urged to stay at their places of employment, not to make any attempt to get to their homes. However, in spite of this urging and warning, streets and highways are packed with frantic people trying to reach their families or apparently to flee just anywhere. We repeat, the safest course of action at this time is simply to stay where you are. Received word that the president has called a meeting of his cabinet to deal with the sudden epidemic of murder which has seized the eastern third of this nation. The meeting is scheduled to convene within the hour. Members of the presidential cabinet will be joined by officials of the FBI and joint meetings behind closed doors. The White House spokesman, in announcing this conference, says there will be an official announcement as soon as possible following that meeting. This is the latest dispatch just received in our latest word also from National Press Services in Washington, D.C. now tells us that the emergency presidential conference, which we've just mentioned, will include high-ranking scientists from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. That's the extent of this latest meeting. Members of his cabinet, the FBI, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and scientists from NASA within the hour. All radio and TV stations around this part of the country, including the one to which you were listening, have joined their facilities in an emergency network to bring you this news as it develops. We urge you to stay tuned to radio and TV and to stay indoors at all costs. Late reports reaching this newsroom tell of frightened people seeking refuge in churches, schools, and government buildings, demanding shelter and protection from the wholesale murder which apparently is engulfing much of the nation. Law enforcement officials are at a loss to explain or, even at this hour, even to theorize about the reasons for this wave of murder. So far, the advice they're able to give the public is something. Chief T.K. Dunmore of Camden, North Carolina, is quoted as saying, quote, "Tell the people, for God's sake, to get off the streets. Tell them told to go home and lock their doors and windows up tight. We don't know what kind of murder-happy characters we have here. And police chief Dunmore of Camden, North Carolina. So far, the only descriptions, the only clues anyone has of the killers come from frightened witnesses of some of the slaves. These eyewitness accounts very often describe the murderers as ordinary-looking people, misshapen monsters, people who look like they're in a trance, and things that look like people but act like animals. Some eyewitnesses tell of seeing victims who look as though they had been torn apart. This whole ghastly story began developing 2 days ago with the report of the slaying of a family of 7 in their rural home near Gulfport, Virginia. Since then, the reports of substance killings began snowballing in a reign of terror which has hopscotched in an perpetual disconnected mood throughout much of the eastern and midwest of the United States. Efforts to keep track of the murder reports by the placing of markers on a map seem to indicate a general spreading to the extreme southeastern and north and west. Our newsmen have been on the telephone talking with officials in other cities and have determined that none of this kind of mass murder has yet been reported west of the Mississippi River, except in the extreme southeastern portion of Texas. Similar killings have been reported around the Houston and Galveston areas, but nothing like...
I found a gun and some bullets out there.
It was only late yesterday
Oh, and
when
these.
it became clear we were facing some kind of national emergency. When first reports began filtering in, newsmen and law enforcement agencies were of the opinion
This
that
place is boarded up pretty solid now.
in nature. However, as these
We ought to be all right here for a while.
dramatically, it was soon apparent that
We have
this
a
was
gun
something
and
more than the
bullets.
usual run of lawlessness.
Food and the radio.
Some began to suspect an obscure kind of conspiracy.
Sooner or later, someone's
Things as
bound to come and get us out.
creatures from outer space. So again, we join with law enforcement agencies, urging you to seek shelter in a building. Lock the doors and windows securely.
Hey, that's us. We're doing all right.
Precautions of any suspicious strangers. And keep tuned to your radio and television for survival instructions and further details of this continuing story.
Look, I don't know if you're hearing me,
Goes on in the absence of any law.
but I'm going upstairs now.
It's almost as though some critical balance of
If anything should try to break in here, I can hear it from up there, and I'll be down to take care of it.
savage killers. We repeat, this radio station.
Everything is all right for now. I'll be back to reinforce the windows and doors later. But you'll be all right for now, okay? Okay.
Civil defense officials in Cumberland have told newsmen that murder victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. Consistent reports from witnesses to the effect that people who acted as though they were in a kind of trance were killing and eating their victims prompted authorities to examine the bodies of some of the victims. Medical authorities in Cumberland have concluded that in all cases, the killers are eating the flesh of the people they murdered. Repeating this latest bulletin just received moments ago from Cumberland, Maryland, civil defense authorities have told newsmen that murder victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. Medical examination of victims' bodies shows conclusively that the killers are eating the flesh of the people they kill. And so this incredible story becomes more ghastly with each report. It's difficult to imagine such a thing actually happening, but these are the reports we have been receiving and passing on to you, reports which have been verified as completely as is possible in this confused situation. It is happening, and it would appear that no one is safe from this wave of mass murder.
We're from town. A radio.
County, Pennsylvania. The Butler County Sheriff has verified that reports of murder being partially eaten by their slayers is true. No further details available at this time. However,
How long you guys been down there? I could use some help up here.
That's the cellar. It's the safest place.
You mean you didn't hear the racket we were making up here?
How were we supposed to know what was going on? Could have been those things for all we knew.
That girl was screaming.
Sure, you must know what a girl's screaming sounds like. Those things don't make any noise. Anybody would know somebody ever needed help.
Look, it's kind of hard to hear what's going on from down there. We thought we could hear screams, but for all we knew, that could have meant those things were in the house afterward.
And you wouldn't come up and help?
Well, if there were more, the racket sounded like the place was being ripped apart. How were we supposed to know what was going on?
Now, wait a minute. You just got finished saying you couldn't hear from down there. Now you say it sounded like the place was being ripped apart. It would be nice if you get your story straight, man.
All right, now you tell me. I'm not going to take that kind of a chance when we got a safe place. We luck into a safe place, and you're telling us we got to risk our lives just because somebody might need help, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
All right, why don't we settle this, mister? We came up. Okay, we're here. Now I suggest we all go back downstairs before any of those things find out we're in here.
They can't get in here.
You got the whole place boarded up?
Yeah, most of it. All but a few spots upstairs. They won't be hard to fix.
You're insane. The cellar's the safest place.
I'm telling you, they can't get in here.
And I'm telling you, those things turned over our car. We were damn lucky to get away at all. Now, you tell me those things can't get through this lousy pile of wood? His wife and kids downstairs. Kids hurt.
Well, I still think we're better off up here.
We could strengthen everything up, Mr. Cooper.
With all of us working, we could fix this place up in no time. We have everything we need up here.
We can take all that stuff downstairs with us. Man, you're really crazy. You know that? You got 1,000,000 windows up here. All these windows, you're gonna make them strong enough to keep these things out, huh?
I told you those things don't have any strength. I smashed 3 of them and pushed another one out the door.
Did you hear me when I told you they turned over our car?
Oh, hell, any good 5 men can do that.
That's my point. Only there's not going to be 5 or even 10. There's going to be 20, 30, maybe 100 of those things. And as soon as they know we're here, this place is going to be crawling with them.
Well, if they're that many, they'll probably get us wherever we are.
Look, the cellar. The cellar, there's only one door, right? Just one door, that's all we have to protect. Tom and I fixed it so it locks and boards from the inside. But up here, all these windows, why, we never know where they were going to hit us next. You got a point, Mr. Cooper. But down in the cellar, there's no place to run to. I mean, if they did get in, there'd be no back exit. We'd be done for. We can get out of here if we have to. And we got windows to see what's going on outside. But down there with no windows, if a rescue party did come, we wouldn't even know it.
But the cellar is the strongest place. The cellar is a death trap.
I don't know, Mr. Cooper. I think he's right. You know how many's out there?
I don't know. I think maybe 6 or 7.
Look, you two can do whatever you like. I'm going back down to the cellar, and you better decide. Because I'm going to board up that door, and I'm not going to unlock it again no matter what happens. Now, wait a minute, Mr. Cooper. No, I'm not going to wait. I've made my decision, now you make yours. Now, wait a minute. Let's think about this. We can make it to the cellar if we have to. And if we do decide to stay down there, we'll need some things from up here. So let's at least consider this a while.
If you box yourself in the cellar and those things get in the house, you've had it. At least up here you have a fighting chance.
Yeah, it looks like about 8 or 10 out there now.
That's more than there were. There are a lot out back, too. gotta fix these boards.
You're crazy. Those things are going to be at every window and door in this place. We've got to get down into the cellar.
Go down in that damn cellar. Get out of here!
I'm taking the girl with me.
Leave her here. Keep your hands off her. And everything else that's up here, too. Because if I stay up here, I'm fighting for everything up here. And the radio and the food is part of what I'm fighting for. Now, if you're going down the cellar, get.
The man's insane. He's insane. We've got to have food down there. We've got a right.
This is your house.
We've got a right.
You going down there with him?
Well,
yes or no? This is your last chance. No beating around the bush.
Listen, I got a kid down there. She can't possibly. I couldn't bring her up here. She can't possibly take all the racket and those things smashing through the windows.
Well, you're her father. If you're stupid enough to go die in that trap, that's your business. However, I am not stupid enough to follow you. It is tough for the kid that her old man is so stupid. Now, you get the hell down in the cellar. You can be the boss down there. I'm boss up here.
You bastards. You know, I won't open this door again. I mean it. Mr. Cooper, with your help, we could... With my help?
Let him go, man. His mind is made up. Just let him go.
Wait a minute. Judy, come on up here, honey. You're going to let them get hurt, too, huh? It's all right, honey. Go ahead. Hey, we stick together, man. We can fix it up real good. There's lots of places we can run to up here. Mr. Cooper, we'd all be a lot better off if all three of us were working together.
Hey. Hey, kid. He's wrong, you know. I'm not boxing myself in down there.
This radio station will remain on the air day and night.
Well, we're safe now. It's boarded up tight.
What about Tom and Judy?
They want to stay up there and let them. There are two other people upstairs, a man and a girl.
We heard the screaming.
Yeah, but I didn't know who they were, and I wasn't about to take any unnecessary chances.
Of course not, Harry.
Is she all right?
I don't know what it is. She feels warm. Maybe it's shock.
Where'd you get the bandage?
Some laundry in a basket. I tore a sheet.
Let them stay upstairs. Let them. Too many ways those monsters can get in up there. We'll see who's right. We'll see when they come begging me to let them in down here.
That's important, isn't it?
What?
To be right, everybody else to be wrong.
What do you mean by that?
Does anyone up there know why we're being attacked?
Whatever it is, it isn't just happening here. It's some kind of mass murder. It's going on everywhere. The radio said to stay inside.
Radio?
Radio upstairs. I heard a news bulletin.
There's a radio upstairs and you boarded us in down here?
I know what I'm doing.
What did it say?
Nothing. Nothing. They don't know anything yet. There's mass murder everywhere, and people are supposed to look for a safe place to hide.
Take the boards off that door.
We are staying down here, Helen.
Harry, that radio is at least some kind of communication. If the authorities know what's happening, well, they'll send people for us to tell us what to do. How are we going to know what's going on if we lock ourselves in this dungeon? We may not enjoy living together, but dying together isn't going to solve anything. Those people aren't our enemies.
Mr. Cooper! Mr. Cooper, there's found a television set upstairs.
Let's go up. Tom?
Yeah.
If Judy would come downstairs for a few minutes, Harry and I could come upstairs.
Okay, yeah, right away.
Will you do it?
Do I have to?
Look, honey, nothing's going to get done with them down there and us up here. Do this for me.
Okay.
Okay, open up.
I'll take good care of her, Helen. She's all I have. Why don't you go upstairs now?
Her brother was killed.
Hey, give me a hand with this thing.
I gotta go help Ben with the television.
Don't be afraid of me. I'm Helen Cooper, Harry's wife.
This place is ridiculous. Look at this. There's a million weak spots up here. Give me one of those.
Her brother was killed.
And they talk about these windows. I can't see a damn thing. There could be 15 million of those things out there. That's how much good these windows are.
Why don't you do something to help somebody?
Here I have it. Drag a couple of those chairs together.
There's a socket over here. You better watch this and try to understand what's going on. I don't want anyone's life on my hands.
Is there anything I can do to help?
I don't want to hear any more from you, mister. If you stay up here, you take orders from me. And that includes leaving the girl alone.
It's on, it's on. There's no sound. Play with the rabbit ears.
Hit reports, incredible as they seem, are not the results of mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. What do they think? We're imagining all this?
Shut up!
In all parts of the country. The wave of murder which is sweeping the eastern third of the nation is being committed by creatures who feast upon the flesh of their victims. First eyewitness accounts of this grisly development came from people who were understandably frightened and almost incoherent. Officials and newsmen at first discounted those eyewitness descriptions as being beyond belief. However, the reports persisted. Medical examinations of some of the victims bore out the fact that they had been partially devoured. I think we have some late word just arriving, and I'll interrupt to bring this to you. This is the latest disclosure in a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. A widespread investigation of reports from funeral homes, morgues, and hospitals has concluded that the unburied dead are coming back to life and seeking human victims. It's hard for us here to believe what we're reporting to you, but it does seem to be a fact. When this emergency first began, radio and television was advising people to stay inside, behind locked doors for safety. Well, that situation has now changed. We're able to report a definite course of action for you. Civil defense machinery has been organized to provide rescue stations with food, shelter, medical treatment, and protection by armed National Guardsmen. Stay tuned to the broadcasting stations in your local area for this list of rescue stations. This list will be repeated throughout our news coverage. Look for the name of the rescue station nearest you and make your way to that location as soon as possible.
So we have that truck. We can get some gas. We can get out of here.
There's a pump out by the shed.
I know, that's why I pulled in here, but it's locked.
Emergency meeting called this afternoon by the President. Since convening this conference of the Presidential Cabinet, the FBI, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the CIA has not produced any public information. Why are space experts being consulted about an Earth-bound emergency? So far, all the betting on the answer to that question centers on the recent Explorer satellite shot to Venus. That satellite, you'll recall, started back to Earth, but never got here. That's the space vehicle which orbited Venus and then was purposely destroyed by NASA when scientists discovered it was carrying a mysterious high-level radiation with it. Could that radiation be somehow responsible for the wholesale murders we're now suffering? Newsman Don Quinn in Washington has posed those questions.
It's obvious our best move is to try to get out of here.
How are you going to get over to that pump? Look.
You're coming from a meeting regarding the explosion of the Venus probe, is that right?
Yes, that was the subject of the meeting.
You feel there is a connection between this and the
There's
phenomenon?
There's a definite connection. A definite connection.
In other words, you feel that the radiation on the Venus probe is enough to cause these mutations?
There was a very high degree of radiation.
Well, just a minute. I'm not sure that that's certain at all. I don't think that has been
logical
explanation that we
have at this time. In other words, it is the military's viewpoint that the radiation is not the cause of the mutation.
I can't speak for the entire military at this time, gentlemen. I must disagree with these gentlemen presently until this is irrefutably proved.
Everything is being done that can be done.
We'll have to hurry for our next meeting.
Professor, you feel that there is a definite connection between them?
Definite connection as far as Dr. Keller and myself.
Doctor, please. I thought we decided that is not proved yet.
Was the satellite, when the satellite was exploded?
An unusual amount of radiation, enough to cause mutation under certain circumstances.
Could have happened.
Have a bearing on it.
It does seem to have a bearing.
Will there be a reply for the
later?
Yes.
There will be a reply.
Yes.
Later this afternoon. There will be a report this afternoon.
Well, perhaps there will be a report, a later report. Will you close the window?
We are doing everything possible to solve the problem.
Some further explanation of this.
We've heard all we need to know. We have to try to get out of here.
He said the rescue stations have doctors and medical supplies. If we could get care in there, we could get help for her.
Is one of the world's foremost authorities on space science and technology.
Willard. I saw a sign that said Willard.
Any moment.
It's only about 17 miles from here.
You know this area. You from around here?
Judy and I are both from around here. We were on our way up to the lake to go swimming. And Judy had a radio, and we heard the first reports about this. So we knew the old house was here, and we came in and found the lady upstairs dead. Then these other people came. We went down into the basement and put a bar across the door, and it is pretty strong. How could we possibly get away from here? We've got a sick child, 2 women, 1 woman out of her head, 3 men, and the place is surrounded with these things.
For NASA. Dr. Grimes, your entire staff, I know, has been working very hard to find some solution to these things that are happening. Do you have any answers at this time?
Yes, we have some answers. But first, let me stress the importance of seeking medical attention for anyone who's been injured in any way. We don't know yet what complications might result from such injury.
How bad has your kid been hurt?
Good advice, Doctor. Now, how about the basic problem of patients? Well,
Look, you go down there and tell, Judy? Yeah, you tell Judy to come up here and you stay with the kid, all right?
Good evening, boils and ghouls, and welcome to our 10-hour monster movie horror-thon, presented by BCTV on the Bethany Broadcasting Network, where our intrepid band of ghost hunters will attempt to prove at long last if Old Main on the campus of Bethany College is indeed haunted. And now, here are your hosts, Jocelyn Nelson and Carlo Guadagnino.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monster Movie Horror-a-thon, brought to you at Bethany College from right here in Old Main. And as you can see, we've moved location a bit so that we can show you where exactly Taylor went up into the bell tower. So this is where she went in, and we're probably going to check in with her again a little bit later, probably in another segment, to show you what else she finds up there. As for right now, this segment is being brought to you by Chartwells. And Chartwells is right here on Bethany campus.
Eat, live, learn.
So thank you very much, Chartwells, for everything you provided for us. And now we're going to actually move right along to trivia. So Carlo, why don't you go ahead and say what the next question is for our viewers at home?
All right, this question is, what was the first Stephen King novel adapted into a movie? Again, that's what was the first Stephen King novel adapted into a movie?
Ooh, I like Stephen King, so I'm kind of curious about that one.
Stephen King's kind of a creepy guy.
Well, if you think you know the answer to this one, you could win a pretty nice prize. And the prize for this movie is...
Sleep.
You wish, Carlo. The prize is actually the original Paranormal Activity. and turning back the clock with Stanley Kubrick and Jack Nicholson, the wonderfully thrilling The Shining. Have you seen The Shining, Carlo?
I have not.
Well, even though he hasn't seen it yet, and I haven't either, I hear it's absolutely fantastic. So if you know it, or if you're curious about it, because it is a classic, make sure to keep your eye out and try to answer that. And if you are the 13th correct email, then you will win this prize. And the email that you're sending it to BCTV Horror-a-thon, which is spelled at the bottom of your screen there that we're showing, BCTV Horror-a-thon at yahoo.com.
Yahoo.com.
So, keep interested in that. Carlo, why don't you read us the question one more time?
What was the first Stephen King novel adapted into a movie?
All right, so send your emails to BCTV Horror-a-thon, and they are timestamped, so you have to get it in before we finish Night of the Living Dead.
And timestamp means that we'll know if you... We'll know.
All right, well, thank you guys very much for that. And also, we're going to get a little bit more into stories that students have told here on Bethany campus. Who are we hearing from this time, Carlo?
Katie, Brady, and Alexis.
So let's see what you got to say.
So I'm here for the summer, and we were really curious on how the cemetery, the Bethany Cemetery was. So I was like, all right, let's go down there. So we drove down there, and it was very, very foggy that night, so it even made it even creepier. We went over to the old cemetery, because there's a new one and an old one. So we went to the old cemetery because we thought that'd be even creepier. There was like these stairs that you had to like climb up, and then like you had to drop down right in there. So it was even creepier that like just to drop down in there, and it was very creepy. And then there was Alexander Campbell's tombstone there. Who else did I see? Just like very old people from Bethany that were in there, and probably Alexander Campbell's was probably the creepiest one, just because he was the creator of Bethany, pretty much. We went in there, we walked in, and it was just fog everywhere. So like, as you are like thinking like it might be a ghost over here, but it was more fog than anything. We walked more in, and I was hearing some stuff like some whistling and stuff like that. So it kind of creeped me out a little bit because you don't know if it's a ghost, the wind, stuff like that. Then you heard whispering, and I was walking in a little bit more, and then it just got dark, like very, very dark, like no fog or anything. And that's when I hit my point of getting a little bit freaked out because I was hearing more and more whistling and like stuff like that. So when we were walking back, the fog was like getting darker and darker, all that, and we finally left. And I probably will go back there again just because I want to see more, but it was probably the creepiest thing I've done so far here is go to that cemetery at night. It was probably like 12 in the morning.
About 4 years ago, one of my best friend Brandon's died. And after he died, about 3 days later, I was laying in my bed. And I remember it was about 3 in the morning, and it was raining outside, and it was pretty much like one of those really cold nights, super windy, kind of like really eerie the whole entire night. And I remember laying there and I was thinking about him, and I started to cry a little bit, and then my whole entire bed started shaking, and nothing else in my room was shaking. I looked around and I was just kind of like, I was calm about it at first, and I texted my sister and said, "Did you feel that earthquake?" And I knew she was awake because she never sleeps. And she texted me back and said, "No, there was no earthquake, what are you talking about?" And then my Xbox turned on and off about 4 times, and then his old account signed on and then signed back off. And then nothing happened the rest of the night, and I just couldn't sleep. I stayed up the whole night. Ever since then, just about every few weeks, the same thing happens. My Xbox will turn on, he'll sign on, and then sign back off. And it always feels like his presence is there.
Well, those are some pretty cool stories we just heard, and we are back in Old Main now with our medium. And as you can see, we're standing by the tower, or by the tower entrance where Taylor went up, and our medium will be going up after Taylor has explored the tower. Are you pretty excited?
I'm very excited. I'd love to see what's up there.
And we're going to be taking you all the way to the top where people have supposedly had some problems of their own. So we're looking forward to seeing what you can feel up there.
I can't wait. I mean, I've heard there's 3 suicides up there. I've heard a lot of stories from students on campus about that. I can't wait. Hopefully I feel something up there.
All right, well, all that talk, we need to get back to the movie, you know, the ghosts. And I don't want to happen, so.
In the cold room at the university, we had a cadaver from which all 4 limbs had been amputated. Sometime early this morning, it opened its eyes and began to move its trunk. It was dead, but it opened its eyes and tried to move.
They want you upstairs. Did she ask for me? She hasn't done anything. I don't understand. Baby. It's Mommy. I heard. I'll come back down as soon as I find out what they want. Thank you, Judy.
The body should be disposed of at once, preferably by cremation.
Well, how long after death, then, does the body become reactivated?
It's only a matter of minutes.
Minutes? Well, that doesn't give people time to make any arrangements.
No, you're right. It doesn't give them time to make funeral arrangements. The bodies must be carried to the street and burned. They must be burned immediately. Soak them with gasoline and burn them. The bereaved will have to forego the dubious comforts that a funeral service will give. They're just dead flesh and dangerous.
I see.
Judy, I need you to find some bedspreads or sheets to tear up into small strips, okay? Is there a fruit cellar here?
Yes.
We need some bottles or jars. Make Molotov cocktails and hold them up while we try to escape.
Hey, there's a big can of kerosene down there.
I'll see what I can find.
I'll look for the bottles. There's a big key ring down there. There may be a key to the gas pump on it. I'll check.
We can toss the cocktails from a window upstairs. Meantime, a couple of us can go out and try to get the gas and come back for the rest of the people.
But that'll leave a door open someplace.
Yeah, that's right. It better be this door. It's closer to the truck. Before we go, we'll put some supplies behind the cellar door. While we're gone, the rest of you can hold up in there.
I found some fruit jars in the cellar. And there's a key on here that's labeled for the gas pump out back.
I'm not really that used to the truck. I found it abandoned.
I can handle the truck, no sweat.
You're it, then. You and I'll go. We'll put whatever lumber we find behind the cellar door. You can go upstairs and toss the cocktails from a window. Tom, you and I will have to unboard at this door. After you toss the cocktails, you hustle back down here and lock this door. It's no good to board it up because we'll have to get back in quickly. After we get the gas and get back into the house, then we'll worry about getting everybody into the truck. Now let's move it.
Except for the rescue station, which has been set up. Indications are that before this emergency is over, will need many, many more such rescue stations.
You always have a smile for me. How can you smile like that all the time? How many do you have done? Come on, honey, we gotta move.
Tom, are you sure about the phone?
The phone is dead out. All you get is a recorded message.
If I could only call the folks. They're going to be so worried about us.
Everything will be all right. As soon as we get to Willard, we'll call them. They might even be there.
I know. Tom? Are you sure we're doing the right thing, Tom?
What, about getting out of here?
Yeah.
Well, the television said that's the right thing to do. We've got to get to a rescue station.
I don't know.
Come on, honey, you're starting to sound like Mr. Cooper now.
But why do you have to go out there?
Look, I know how to handle that truck, and I can handle the pump. Ben doesn't know anything about that stuff.
But we're safe in here.
For how long, honey? We're safe now. But there's going to be more and more of those things.
I know all that.
Hey, listen. Remember when we had the big flood? Remember how difficult it was for us to convince you that it was right to leave? Remember? Remember we had to go to Willard then? This isn't a passing thing, honey. It's not like just a wind passing through. We've got to do something, and fast.
I just don't want you to go out there, that's all.
Hey, Smiley. Where's that big smile for me? Boy, you're showing no use at all, are you? We've got work to do, honey. And you...
We better get her downstairs.
We have to go downstairs now, Barbara.
She's right. You have to go downstairs now, just for a little while, until we get back. Then we can all leave.
Oh, I'd like to leave. Yes.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Unless you're coming, come on. Get in.
Key won't work. Watch it.
Watch the torch.
Gotta get away from the pump.
Isn't it 3 o'clock yet? There's supposed to be another broadcast at 3 o'clock.
10 minutes.
Oh, only 10 more minutes? We don't have very long to wait. We can leave. Well, we'd better leave soon. It's 10 minutes to 3.
You know anything about this area at all? I mean, is Willard the nearest town?
I don't know. We were just trying to get to a motel before dark.
You said those things turned your car over. You think we can get it back on its wheels and drive it? Where is it?
Seems like it was pretty far away. Seems like we ran.
Forget it. It's at least a mile.
Johnny has the keys.
You gonna carry that child a mile through that army of things out there?
I can carry the kid. What's wrong with her? How'd she get hurt?
One of those things grabbed her.
Bit her on the arm.
What's wrong?
Who knows what kind of disease those things carry? Is she conscious?
Barely.
She can't walk. She's too weak.
Well, one of us could try to get to the car.
You're going to turn it over by yourself?
You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
You have a car? Where? Where is it?
You won't be able to start it.
Yeah, I know. But where is it?
Good Lord.
Welcome back, boils and ghouls. I see you're still with us. Our monster movie, HORROR-THON, continues on BCTV, if you dare to watch. And now, here are your hosts once again, Jocelyn Nelson and Carlo Guadagnino.
Hello, everybody, and this segment is brought to you by Papa John's Pizza, located on Mertland Avenue in Washington, PA. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. He's the Santa Claus of pizza. And as long as we're talking a little bit here, you might have noticed Carlo's mic was a little freaky last segment. We actually had the antenna for your mic get unplugged off of the truck. Which it shouldn't have been, because that thing locks in place, so ghosts are not too happy with you right now, Carlo, I guess.
See, I don't understand why we got to keep bringing this medium out here, because every time she comes out, something bad happens to me.
Something about you must agitate those ghosts.
No, this isn't a joking matter. We got bats flying around, there's pumpkins everywhere, there's hay everywhere, and apparently now there's ghosts following me. This is not my idea of a fun Friday night.
Well, as long as we're talking about the bats that are going around Old Main, let's see if Taylor found any while she was up in the tower.
All right, thanks, Jocelyn and Carlo. So, guys, the moment has finally arrived. We're about to head up to the steps and then go into the... Finally, we're going to get to the roof. So if you're ready, I don't know if I'm ready, but we're going to make our way up. Now this should be the most exciting part because of the rumors, which we'll get into in a little bit. All right, guys, I found a door. Are you ready? Looks like you'll have to stick around to see the actual roof. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Taylor. And in our next segment, we're going to find out what exactly is beyond that door and outside on the top of the tower of Old Main. You pretty excited for that?
You know, I think that's more or less a job for Scooby, Shaggy, and the gang. I don't think we should be sending students up there, but that's just my personal opinion.
Well, I mean, Taylor is a little bit like Daphne. Maybe we'll see how she looks.
No, I'm going to be honest with you. She's not a cartoon character, so she is not.
All right, well, hopefully she finds something. But a lot of people are probably wondering a little bit about Old Main's history and what makes this place tick.
And we have Dr. Gary Capel to do just that job for us.
Yep, let's see that video.
Old Main is, and always has been, an iconic symbol of the Bethany College campus. Its beauty and history are unmatched and can be admired from every angle. Its construction was started by Bethany's founder, Alexander Campbell, and since the beginning, Old Main has seen many decades, renovations, and countless uses by the campus community.
We are seated now in the academic parlor, which is the center of the centerpiece of the campus called Old Main. The building began construction in 1858, and then there was that little dust-up between the north and south in 1861, which sort of slowed things down for a few years. And the building was not completed until 1866, just at the moment of Campbell's death. Old Main proper extends only from one end of the corridor to the other. The two buildings at either end were added in 1871, Commencement Hall, and at the other end, a building that was known as Society Hall. It burnt down in 1879, but fortunately, the workers were able to keep the fire from spreading to Old Main proper. That space then lay dormant, really, in the ruins of Society Hall for about 40 years. Then in 1912, Earl Ogleby endowed a building which became known as Ogleby Hall until the late 90s and is now known as Kirkpatrick Hall of the Life Sciences. So the three buildings together form a complex which most people just simply refer to as Old Main. Over the years, the building has been used for practically all purposes. There were stables in the basement when the building was first opened. Commencement Hall was a gymnasium at one time. It housed classrooms and studios for the art department, a separate auditorium for many years, which was removed when Commencement Hall was restored to its original design in 1983-84.
Commencement Hall holds its own special meaning in the college's history. It serves as the gathering place for many iconic events at Bethany, including the speeches of former United States presidents.
Richard Nixon was here when he was vice president in the 1950s, and he spoke at a commencement. Mr. Kennedy spoke in Commencement Hall during the West Virginia primary in 1960, which, as you may know, was a critical, pivotal win for Mr. Kennedy because it proved that a northeastern Catholic could win in what was then called the Bible Belt, which West Virginia was. Lyndon Johnson, who was raised in the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, spoke here before he became president, and Gerald Ford also visited, but after he became president.
Perhaps the most prominent feature of Old Main, extending high above the campus, is the clock tower.
The tower itself is original to the building, but the mansard with the clock faces and so on only was added at the end of the 19th century, and the clock itself was installed when electricity came to Bethany in, I think, 1903 or 1904. 15 years ago, we had some problems with some of the sandstone along the walkways around the clock face began to deteriorate and chunks were falling. And so we brought in a crane, picked the whole top of the tower up and moved it down into the quadrangle and spent a year refurbishing it. And then when we were done, we brought the crane back, put the mansard back up again. It's really quite dramatic. And I happened to be teaching that day, and about halfway through my class I said, okay, that's it. We're going to go out and watch this because it's not going to happen again in my lifetime. I do tours of the clock tower every year at homecoming, both for current students and particularly for alumni. And then it has become a tradition to do the clock tower tour during senior week for students who are about to graduate. I live here in the village. At night in the summer when the windows are open, you awaken at 2 in the morning and you hear the bells.
It's not just the building itself that has been restored. The outside gardens maintain their original design as well.
This lovely garden and fountain that sits here in front of the building is relatively new. One of the original designs included that fountain, or that garden, I guess one should say. It was never built. And so Mrs. Gresham thought that would be a good thing to do 150 years later. And when the discussion about putting it in took place, there were many people who said, oh no, you'll ruin that wonderful vista from the front of Old Main down through Ogleby Gates, down College Street to the Bethany Memorial Church. Well, 2 years after the fountain was in, nobody even remembers what that used to look like. And everyone says, oh, what just a stunning design it is. And it is. This little place out in the middle of nowhere is an important place in the intellectual life, the economic life, the religious life of this country.
So much so that it holds a National Historic Landmark.
There's a process by which you apply to the United States government, and you make the case for this being an important facility, an important structure in the history of the United States, and of course in the history of your own institution. This happens to be one of the outstanding examples of what is called collegiate or academic Gothic architecture, which was very popular in the 19th century. But in order to be designated a National Historic Landmark, there is a rather rigorous process of application, proof that the building is substantially as it was designed. Most of what you see is original, or it dates from an earlier period, or if not, the origins of the building. The doors, the locks, the flooring, most of the woodwork, that sort of thing, is original. There have been some replacements as a result of water damage and fire and that sort of thing.
Old Main will always hold a special place, not just in history, but in the hearts of alumni who continue to walk its historic halls.
Virtually all alumni, when they come back, they have to walk the corridor or through the halls of Old Main. It's haunted by the spirits of the thousands of students who have studied here, who have learned here, who have grown here. It's a special place.
And that was very informative as far as just getting some insight and some beautiful shots of Old Main during the daytime when it's not a little creepy.
Yeah, some of our fellow cast members / I don't know, crew members, I guess it would be. They had an interesting experience about 5 minutes ago in the green room. The lights shut off and then turned back on. I don't believe that, because if the ghost was real, he or she or it would shut the door.
I don't know. It proved it so much to Christian. He really had some colorful language for those ghosts.
Ghosts, they're not real. They're not real.
Well, we are going to pitch this back to your finale of Night of the Living Dead.
Spokesman warned that dead bodies will continue to be transformed into the flesh-eating ghouls. All persons who die during this crisis, from whatever cause, will come back to life to seek human victims unless their bodies are first disposed of by cremation. Our news cameras have just returned from covering such a search and destroy operation against the ghouls, this one conducted by Sheriff Conan McClellan in Butler County, Pennsylvania. So now let's go to that film report. All law enforcement agencies and the military have been organized to search out and destroy the marauding ghouls. The Survival Command Center at the Pentagon has disclosed that a ghoul can be killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull. Officials are quoted as explaining that since the brain of a ghoul has been activated by the radiation, the plan is kill the brain and you kill the ghoul.
Anything from the supply wagon, Cuz?
No, we're all right. Hey, Cass, put that thing all the way in the fire. We don't want it getting up again. All right,
Chief McClellan, how's everything going?
Oh, things aren't going too bad. Men are taking it pretty good. You want to get on the other side of the road over there?
Chief, do you think we'll be able to defeat these things?
Well, we killed 19 of them today right in this area. Those last 3 we caught trying to claw their way into an abandoned shed. They must have thought somebody was in there. There wasn't, though. We heard them making all kind of noise. We came over and beat them off, blasted them down. Chief, as soon as you're finished, can I see you here? Yeah, okay.
Chief, if I were surrounded by 6 or 8 of these things, would I stand a chance with them?
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot them in the head. That's a sure way to kill them. If you don't, get yourself a club or a torch. Beat them or burn them. They go up pretty easy.
Well, Chief McClellan, how long do you think it will take you until you get the situation under control?
Well, that's pretty hard to say. We don't know how many of them there are. We know when we find them, we can kill them.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
Well, in time, would you say you ought to be able to wrap this up in 24 hours?
Well, we don't really know. We know we'll be into it most of the night, probably into the early morning. We're working our way toward Willard, and we'll team up with the National Guard over there, and then we'll be able to give a more definite view.
Thank you very much, Chief McClellan. This is Bill Cardill, WIC TV 11 News.
Thank you, Bill, for that report. Official spokesman declined to speculate just how long it may take to kill off all the flesh eaters, so long as the heavy rain...
fuse box in the cellar?
I don't know. It isn't the fuse. The power lines are down. Helen, I have to get that gun.
Haven't you had enough?
Well, 2 people are dead already on account of that guy. Take a look out that window, click it.
want to get about 4 or 5 men and a couple dogs. There's a house over here behind those trees. We want to go check it out.
Right.
You still here, Bill?
Yeah, Chief, we're going to stay with it till we meet up with the National Guard.
Where'd you get the coffee?
One of the volunteers. You're doing all the work. You take it.
Thank you. We should be wrapped up here about 3 or 4 more hours. We'll probably get into Willard then. I guess you can go over there and meet the National Guard. Nick, you and the rest of these men want to come with me?
Well, Bill, let's check in the office, see what's happening. All right, Steve. Tell them we're going to stay with it, and everything appears to be under control.
Down there by the barn. Some of these guys can roll the wagon down. I only need a few men to check out the house. Somebody had a cookout here, Vince.
Yeah, sure looks like it, Tom.
He's a dead one. Get up here. Nick, Tony, Steve, you want to get out in that field and build me a bonfire? You, drag that out of here and throw it on the fire.
Nothing down here.
All right, go ahead down and give him a hand. Let's go check out the house.
There's something there. I heard a noise.
All right, Vince, hit him in the head, right between the eyes. Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.